Hi boys and girls, it's Show back with another video. Today we're looking to cover game week 6 in the Premier League with a bit of a twist. We're going to add some fancy Premier League to it, maybe see who the standout players are if you do a bit of fancy Premier League, and just to sort of combine both elements there should be a good laugh. And roll on the weekend, so all of those working hard out there, cheers to you, have a good one. And without further ado, let's crack on with the video. Right, so here's the standard fixture list. Obviously, we've got here. We'll start off with Chelsea Man City. I covered this in the previous video. If you haven't watched it, watch it. It's an absolute banger. But Chelsea Man City, I just thought Chelsea, no injury trouble really. They rested Kante, like I say, good game management with him. They're pretty much fully fit. Man City, on the other hand, Laporte, Stones, Rodri, some key injuries there. The centre back issue is going to be Nathan Ake coming back from compassionate leave. See how he does again. And like João Cancelo on the left hand side, I think that's where City are weak, because João Cancelo, like I said, likes to push on, likes to join midfield, likes to be creative, and so with the pressing game of Chelsea, Havertz, Mount, even Kante to some extent, sort of pushing a bit higher up, winning the ball higher up. I think that left-hand side is really where Chelsea are going to get joy. I think City, their sort of opportunity is to try and keep the ball as much as possible, sort of limit, take the sting out of the game, take the sting out of Chelsea, and then that when they get a chance to sort of really do something, I think the key is to get their free eights in between the midfield and sort of in behind Alonso and Reece James. In and around the back three. I think Gundogan, Bernardo, De Bruyne, and Jack Grealish, really, if those four can sort of operate at different points in the game, maybe linking up together by one getting in the pocket, breaking that line, the ball comes into him, then maybe another late run from a free eight, into another side in between the other side of the back three. It could be really effective. So I think that's how they're going to get joy in this game as well. But I just think with their injury trouble, with the fact that Chelsea seem to have hit a good vein of form and City haven't really found that level yet, I expect Chelsea to get the win here. So my prediction for this one is 2-1. And then from a fancy Premier League perspective, I just think, you can't go wrong with Chelsea players. This is my team. It's a bit all over the place at the moment. I made a couple of transfers and I made it a bit too early because Bamford got injured midweek. Leeds, they've got a good run of fixtures, so maybe think about a Leeds player. But Lukaku, can't go wrong with that. Could easily see him scoring against City. Keeping obviously their main sort of strike option. Like I say, even if he has a down week, you stick with him. Those kind of players, they're long termers. You just let them sit there and they will rack up the points. Don't move them too much. Alonso, I've bitten the bullet here. That was one of the transfers I made. I've put him off a lot, but I just think him and Alexander-Arnold are sort of the two key defenders at the moment to have. I think you must have them, and the longer again you go without them, a bit like Salah and Bruno, a bit in midfield. The longer you go without them, you're going to struggle. You need to get them both in, because even if they don't keep a clean sheet, they're the ones that are usually picking up the assist. And I could see, even if it's 2-1. To Chelsea, Alonso would be the one that would be getting the assist most likely, or maybe even chipping in with a goal. So that's very much where I'd go with that. Alonso, Lukaku are probably sort of the two standout ones for Chelsea for me. If you can get a Chelsea player in defence on the cheap, maybe like a Rudiger, that's always a good idea as well. So moving on, we've got Man United, Aston Villa. I'm going 2-1 Man United. Sorry for this one. Bit up and down. Man United obviously not doing very well in the cup competitions, but the league form has been good. They're trying to address their home form. I just think the crowd has been fantastic since we've been back. I think obviously the homecoming with Ronaldo as well. There is a sort of a feel-good factor around the club at the moment. There's an energy, and I think even though Aston Villa have played well last couple of games, Leon Bailey was sort of the catalyst for that in the last game. That game was quite close until he came on. He's not going to be fit for this game. So I expect Man United to get the win here. So with this game, if you're doing your fantasy Premier League, never trust Man United defenders. They don't keep clean sheets. Like De Gea started the season really well. but you can't trust him to keep a clean sheet. We're a team that even if we're winning 5-0, we'll let one in. So the key is obviously, whether you think Man United's defenders, for example, are going to actually pick up some assists. I've had Luke Shaw in for a good while now. He's not hit strides yet. His value hasn't dropped though, which is useful. This could easily be a game for him, I reckon, against Matty Cash, a good attacking fullback, average defensively. Shaw's physicality, and expect that sort of right hand side to have his hands full for Aston Villa. So yeah, if you're going to go United, Luke Shaw could be a shout. I'm sticking with Greenwood. This is just down to the value of my squad. I expect him to play. We saw him come off at the bench in the Cup. He's being protected. I feel like he's one of the first names on the team sheet. He's not going to drop out anytime soon. I've gained a bit of value at him because I've had him since the start as well. But yeah, I really think him and Pogba, Greenwood and Pogba are the two United players to have. You could go Bruno, but you can get better value elsewhere. So yeah, definitely for me, one of Greenwood, Pogba and Bruno probably should be in your team, especially if you look at some of our fixtures coming up. We've got a tough run in coming right here. So this is sort of the last game if you've got them. Maybe you're thinking, maybe we should move them out here. So just keep an eye on that. We're transitioning into a difficult game period here. So I've only got 2 United players rather than the 3, so something to think about that. Okay, moving on to Everton Norwich. This one, I think Everton obviously lost the last game against Villa. Like I said, Leon Bailey sort of turned that game on the head, but it was very, very close. Norwich again beating quite comfortably, I would suggest, against Watford last week. I don't think that's gonna change anytime soon. I expect Everton to win. I'm going to go 2-0 Everton on this one. But I do think if you've got Norwich, are only going to be useful for value in your fantasy Premier League, not going to be useful for much else. So with Everton, they've obviously got some players that are definitely sort of worth looking at. If we just have a quick gander at some of the Everton players. This is the guy. He's gone up by 0.3. During this time, about a couple of weeks ago, I tilted between him and Harvey Barnes, and I went to Harvey Barnes, and it just didn't work out because Harvey Barnes' value had dropped significantly. So I thought I'm going to get him on the upward trajectory back so I can get some value. Didn't work out. This was the guy to have. I would suggest if your value is low, don't get him in now. But he could easily score in this game. So if you've got value to use, it might be something worth considering. But if you've not got value at the moment, which some squads don't, if you've gone less than 100 through some sort of bad luck and indifferent decisions, then I wouldn't be looking at Damari Gray. I'd be looking at this dude, Townsend, for 5.4. This is the guy you want out of the Everton lot. Like I say, likely get good minutes in this game. Has been playing well recently. Like I say, value 5.4, quite low. Could easily go up. Get him on his upward trajectory. This is the dude to have. And I just think against Norwich, that's going to be a good pick for you guys. So get him in your team. Right, moving on. Leeds West Ham. Yeah, like I say, I think Leeds played pretty well against Newcastle, missed some absolute sitters. Rafinha had an average game. I know he scored, but he took too long on chances. They've really not hit their stride, and it's only a matter of time, but loss of Bamford's a bad one. Obviously got Dan James. Harrison has had a knock as well, which was to the detriment of my fantasy Premier League team. Yeah, it's a gamble, this one. You don't ever want Leeds defenders. If you're going to go, like I said, Leeds have got a good run of fixtures coming up. If we just look at my Leeds players, for example, just to pick up their fixture list. Look at this. We've got a green block here. They're going to get goals against these teams. Norwich, example. Watford, they like to attack, expect goals there. These are the two maybe where they're sort of to a lesser extent. But yeah, this is a good fixture run in here. So the fact that Bamford's now screwed me over, I think we're looking at this. You've got to be looking at a Dan James, a Dan James or a Rafinha. I mean, Rafinha's the obvious one, isn't it? Let's be honest. A Dallas maybe at 5.4. His value's actually dropped, so that's how poor Leeds have been at the start of the season. But yeah, like I say, just because their values drop doesn't mean you need to be put off. Put them back in where they can sort of regain your own squad value as they start to improve. So yeah, my pick here would be Rafinha, obvious choice, and then obviously Rodrigo might be a shout if you've got decent value. But yeah, I think the obvious pick here for me is Dallas at a 5.4. This is the one. Don't have him in. Want to get some value. Stuart Dallas. Okay, so yeah, Leeds, West Ham. Expecting this to be, I'm going to go 1-1 draw. But West Ham, Antonio is back. So get Antonio in your team. If we look at West Ham here, apparently I don't know the alphabet. Yeah, but look, he's back. Yes. If you already had him, then the value is obviously shocking now if you've not had him. But you know he's going to score goals, and you know their fixture list is reasonable against teams that they'll get goals against. So yeah, I think he's one of those players that you say, oh yes, he's not worth it. I've missed the boat on this, and then you keep missing the boat as long as possible. So he's one of those ones that you might want to just bite the bullet and drop into your team. Okay, moving on to Leicester versus Burnley. Leicester, they're going to go for a good patch here. Burnley, like I say, they've had a bit of an up and down start to the season. Tried to be a bit more creative as well. It's at the detriment to themselves defensively. We saw that when they played Everton and got absolutely battered. Leicester City, like I said, I think they're coming into a good vein here and only lost in the last game. But I just think this is the time for Leicester players. I think this is really going to be their moment. So, I mean, my prediction for this is going to be a 2-1 Leicester victory. And I don't have any, which is laughable when I say stuff like this. But yeah, looking at their team, I mean, the obvious ones, I think for me, is Pereira at 5.5. Burnley at home, Crystal Palace away. That's obviously always a good shout. This is the dude though. 4.9. Vestergaard. Get him in your team. And then obviously, if you've got value, you've been nipping it in your team. Vardy's obviously a shout, but if you haven't got the value, I would look at it. I think Harvey Barnes at 6.8 is still a fine player to have. He's been playing well recently. Persist with Harvey Barnes. He will come good. And then from a sort of a Burnley perspective, I've got. He's injured, I think, in this game, but I've got Brownhill at 4.5. So he might not be fit, but he's always a useful player. Takes their free kicks, so he's always a good cheap value for Burnley. Then obviously, if you're looking at their sort of defence. Lowton at 4.4, for example, is always a good shout. And then, really, I would ignore them. McNeil's dropped to a 5.9. He's a sneaky one. They've got Norwich in a couple of game weeks. I would ignore Burnley for now. Definitely don't touch Burnley for now, but I reckon a couple of game weeks, keep an eye on Burnley. Sneak in, like, say, Dwight McNeil's value's gone down. Lowton's value's gone down because they've been so poor. Like I say, get them while they're low, and then they'll come back up. Right, Watford versus Newcastle. We've got Watford playing pretty well under Zisco, attacking flair. I've bitten the bullet on this because I thought, they're scoring some goals. I can see them. Got Newcastle here, Leeds, which is always like a bit of a basketball game. I've got Emmanuel Dennis. This is my player that I've put in for this game week at a 5.2. Just to manipulate a bit of value in my squad. And like I say, I think this guy is going to be good pick over the next couple of weeks. So he'd be my pick from this game. Newcastle, obviously Sam Maximan. If you've not already had him, I don't have him in here. His value's skyrocketed. So you maybe have missed out on here. If we look at this, San Maximin 6.7, gone up 0.2 there. But Newcastle, decent run of fixtures coming up. But, you know, I'll be honest with you, he's the only player, I would say he's the only player in this Newcastle team I would have. Willock, maybe, as a bit of a gamble as well. I would not touch their defence. I don't like to play five at the back, but I'd say really Willock and San Maximin are the only ones I'd even touch from Newcastle. I'd avoid them like the plague in Fantasy Premier League. Yeah, Brentford, Liverpool. This one, Liverpool just rolling on, I think, with a bit of momentum. I expect Liverpool to win, but I think Brentford will really push them close. Like I say, I think they're the best equipped to sort of deal with most styles of opposition with sort of their varied physicality and ability to play on the ball. Ivan Toney obviously would be the pick here as a sort of a Brentford player that you'd have. And Buno, though, this is the thing about Brentford. Got to be smart here about who they're playing and when, and about what value you want to get in your squad. So obviously Ivan Toney might be the standout guy that you want in, but look at their fixture list. But if you want to maybe get some value in your squad to sneak someone in, you need to be looking at obviously what cheap options you get in this team, and the cheap options are all in their defence, right? So you're sneaking a defender. That's where the value is really with Brentford. And like I say, you know, I think there's a few good options here. You know, they're all good aerially from the back as well, from set pieces. I definitely think that's where the value is from Brentford, unless you go Ivan Toney. So really, Canos, obviously an attacking right winger, decent option, and Buno, like I say, would be the other one. But you know, again, in this run of fixtures, probably not worth it. Maybe avoid Brentford players for now. But like I said, value in the squad, I think we're looking at these two, and then we're looking at the defence. Okay, Southampton versus Wolves. Southampton, good result against City. Pressed them very, very well. Really played the percentages well. Stayed in the game. You know, didn't lose their heads at all. They're really well managed and they're a very likeable team. Wolves had a poor showing in the last game. We'll see if they can bounce back. And for the majority of the season, they've played well, even though they've not picked up the results that they've deserved. But yeah, I mean, with this one, I don't trust Wolves attackers, so I would avoid Wolves Fantasy Premier League attackers. Don't bother. Like I said, Adama Traore may be the one you go for, but I just don't trust them. I think Wolves are a team that they're solid at the back. Usually, they've had a lot of 1-0 losses, but they can sort of turn that on its head and go the other way. So yeah, I very much think that this is a team that that's going to struggle with the attackers. So ignore the Wolves attack. Southampton, they've struggled in attack as well. I think really this is another team that you might sort of think, where can I get value? It's definitely more in the wing back position, and Ward-Prowse were the only ones that I'd go with Southampton. So if we just take a quick look at them. Yeah, so if we look on here, you want to be going with these types of players around the defence. Salisu as well. That's always a good option. And then for me, it's Ward-Prowse or nothing. I wouldn't be touching a lot of Southampton at all. Okay, moving on to Arsenal Spurs. Predictions on some of these. I said 2-1 Liverpool, Southampton Wolves. I'm just going to go on here 1-0 Southampton win. Arsenal versus Spurs. I think Arsenal, they're playing very, very well. Spurs, confidence maybe dipped a bit after getting battered by Chelsea. I think this will be a close game. I'm going to go 1-1 on this one. And the fact that Spurs will actually, Kane might actually hit the ground running. Kane might be a sneaky one, I know he costs a lot of money, but everyone thinks Kane's just turning to shit. But this is really where you're going to get your points here. Because obviously everyone's got Ronaldo, everyone's got Lukaku, everyone's got Bruno, everyone's got Salah. They're the four players, and defensively Alexander-Arnold, Alonso. Everyone's got those players. Kane right now, it's one of those gambles that might pay off for you. Dropped a bit of value from a 12.5 to a 12.2. They've got 3 good fixtures coming up here. Think about it. Get Kane in now. Get Harry Kane in your team now. Okay, and then from an Arsenal perspective, you're looking at those players in the pockets. The two that are definitely worth getting in your team are obviously Ødegaard and Smith Rowe. So Smith Rowe here 5.3, drop 0.2. Definitely think about getting him in your team. Ødegaard at 5.5. Those sort of players that nip around the pockets, they get a lot of shots off. It really benefits the Arteta system. So yeah, really think about that one. And then finally, to end, Crystal Palace versus Brighton. Brighton have started like a house on fire. Mopé is actually scoring some goals, which we've said about Brighton. They create the chances, they don't score the goals. Looks like they are this season, so I expect a top half finish. So yeah, Crystal Palace. We know Conor Gallagher likes chipping with the goals. We've had Mendy as well. He's obviously started off life in the Premier League well for the Crystal Palace too. Zaha being the obvious sort of picks there. But yeah, I mean, with Crystal Palace, like I say, it's about looking for value because they don't all score lots of goals. So it's about the players that you know are going to chip in. And like I say, for a Crystal Palace team, I mean, you're looking at Gallagher all day, I think, for Crystal Palace. That's the guy I would get into the team. There's value in here. Not a lot on the attack here. Edwards, obviously, Odson Edwards, sorry, he's doing okay. 6.5, I don't think it's worth it. Like I say, I really think Gallagher is where the value is for Crystal Palace. Gets into the box. We've seen him, even when he's missing chances, he gets chances. He gets in areas where he's going to get you some points. So he's definitely worth it, I think, from a Crystal Palace perspective. And then, yes, from a Brighton perspective, it's very much Mopé. He's the player that seems to have started off. Welbeck did chip in with a goal in the last game. Could he sort of continue a bit of form? But if we look at Brighton, lastly, how long is Duffy going to play? Webster's still not back fit. I reckon if you've still got Duffy, his value's gone up. When I got him in at 4.1, value's gone up to a 4.3. They're winning. They're doing well. He's not going to come out anytime soon, so keep him in. No point in changing there. And like I said, I think March always at 5.4 is pretty decent for Brighton. It gets lots of crossing, got a lovely left foot. But then obviously Mopé at 6.5, he started off well. I don't see why that wouldn't continue. They've got a reasonable set of fixtures here, so yeah, continue with the Brighton vein, I believe. Okay, so that'll do for today. Yeah, please like, comment, share and subscribe. That was great fun. I hope it was to your taste. Please actually put in the comments whether you preferred the fantasy Premier League aspect or the prediction aspect. I've had some bits of advice. I thought I'd try something a bit different here. And yeah, again, thanks a lot for listening, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.